You've probably heard of rich dad, poor dad, two father figures, two completely different relationships with money, one book, millions of copies sold. Here's the thing. You don't need two dads to see this pattern play out. You just need two uncles. Every family has one. The uncle who made it, the one who shows up to Christmas in a car that costs more than your parents' house, bragging about the deal he just closed, the one everyone secretly wants to be. And every family also has the other one, the quiet one. Nobody really talks about him. He drives the same car he's had for 15 years, wears the same watch he got as a graduation gift. You barely notice him at the dinner table. Now, here's the twist that should mess with your head. By the time both of them die, the quiet uncle is worth several millions of dollars, and the flashy one? Bankrupt. Not once, sometimes twice. Today, I'm breaking down the real story behind two men who prove this exact pattern, the same pattern rich dad, poor dad made famous, except this isn't a parable. This actually happened. One man earned tens of millions and lost it all. The other never earned more than a school teacher's salary and quietly built a fortune. Same country, same era, completely different endings. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly which uncle you're currently becoming and how to change course before it's too late. Let's start with the flashy one, the uncle who had everything. In the early 90s, there was an entertainer at the absolute peak of pop culture. One song alone put more than $30 million in his pocket in a single year. Adjusted for today, that's close to $70 million. He didn't just spend it, he detonated it. A 40,000 square foot mansion, then $5 million more just to renovate it. Gold-plated bathroom fixtures, a bowling alley, 2 swimming pools, a 17-car garage, an entourage of almost 100 people on his personal payroll, costing $500,000 every single month just to have people around him. Within 5 years, he filed for bankruptcy. Millions in debt, the IRS chasing him for decades after. Here's the part that should stick with you. He wasn't broke because he didn't make enough money. He was broke because his lifestyle had no ceiling. Every time the income went up, the lifestyle expanded to swallow it, and then some. This is a trap that has nothing to do with income level. It has a name, lifestyle inflation. And it doesn't care if you make $50,000 a year or $50 million. Now meet the other story. A man working as a tax auditor, 23 years at the same government job, never once promoted, his salary never crossed $4,000 a year. And this was decades ago, so even adjusted for inflation, it was modest at best. He retired at 51 with about $5,000 saved. Most people would call that a disappointing retirement fund. He called it a starting point. Here's what he'd noticed after 20 years of quietly reading other people's tax returns. Almost every wealthy person he audited owned stocks, not lottery tickets, not hot tips, boring, ordinary shares in companies people used every day. Soda companies, drug companies, entertainment studios. So he bought some, and he never sold. He reinvested every dividend. He ignored the crashes. He ignored the headlines. He just kept holding, decade after decade, letting the boring magic of compounding do the one thing it's designed to do if you don't interrupt it. When he died at 101 years old, his $5,000 retirement fund had turned into $22 million. His lawyer said it best after he passed. He'd quietly outperformed some of the most famous investors in the world without a single Wall Street connection, without ever making a headline while he was alive. So what actually separates these two people? It's not intelligence. The auditor wasn't a genius stock picker. He basically bought what he already understood and never touched it again. It's not luck either, not really. He didn't win anything, he just didn't lose. Here's the real difference, and it's the one thing school never teaches you. One person optimized for looking rich, the other optimized for staying rich. The flashy uncle needed the world to see the wealth immediately, the mansion, the entourage, the gold fixtures. Every dollar earned had to be converted into proof instantly for an audience. The quiet uncle needed nobody to see anything. His wealth had one job, to keep growing quietly in the background while he lived on almost nothing. This is the exact same pattern you'll find in nearly every sudden money disaster. Lottery winners going broke within a few years, athletes who earned hundreds of millions ending up in debt. The moment money becomes a performance instead of a tool, it starts leaking out faster than it comes in. The part nobody tells you, though, here's what makes this genuinely unfair. The flashy path feels better in the moment. Buying the car gets you attention. Posting the trip gets you likes. Nobody claps when you quietly transfer $200 into an index fund on a random Tuesday. The boring path is invisible by design. That's exactly why nobody sticks with it. Not because it's hard to understand, but because it's emotionally unrewarding in real time. You're not fighting math when you try to build wealth. You're fighting boredom. You're fighting the itch to prove something to people who, statistically, are not thinking about you nearly as much as you assume they are. Here's a question worth sitting with, and I want you to answer it honestly, not for me, for yourself. Which uncle are you becoming right now? When your income goes up, a raise, a bonus, a good month, what happens next? If the answer is, my spending goes up almost automatically, you are right now, in this moment, taking the first step down the flashy uncle's road. Not because you're reckless, because it's the default setting for almost every human being on Earth. Nobody has to try to spend more. It just happens. Becoming the quiet uncle takes an actual decision. It has to be on purpose. The 3 moves that made the difference. Strip away all the noise, and the quiet uncle's whole strategy comes down to 3 unglamorous moves. 1. He bought things he understood and left them alone. No chasing tips, no panic selling, no trying to time anything. 2. He reinvested instead of cashing out. Every dividend went back in, which is the entire secret behind compounding. Money making money, then that money making more money, quietly for 50 years. 3. His lifestyle never caught up to his portfolio. Even as his account grew into the millions, his day-to-day life barely changed. The gap between what he had and what he spent is the entire engine of the whole story. None of these 3 things require a finance degree. None of them require a lucky break. They require patience most people don't think they have until they actually try it. So let's bring this home. Money doesn't reward the person who looks richest at the family dinner table. It rewards the person who can go the longest without anyone needing to notice. The flashy uncle and the quiet uncle usually start with more in common than you'd think. What splits their paths isn't the size of the first paycheck. It's what each of them decided to do with the version of themselves people weren't watching. So, here's your one action for this week. Look at the last raise, bonus, or bit of extra income you received. Ask yourself honestly, did it go towards looking richer or getting richer? There's no wrong answer, just an honest one. If this hit different for you, subscribe. Every week I break down the money stories and psychology they never taught us in school. Because 20 years from now, somebody at your family's dinner table is going to be the quiet one everyone underestimated. Might as well be you.